listeners and new listeners. Welcome to the third episode of Version Upgrade. In our last episode, we talked about who we are, where we are in our careers, and the characteristics that helped us grow. Things like hard work and taking responsibility.
Right. That was a fun one. So, Shweta, what's on the agenda for today?
Today, Saitya, why don't we talk about the catalysts that helped us evolve?
క్యాటలిస్ట్ క్యాటలిస్ట్ ఏంటి ఏమైనా కెమిస్ట్రీ ల్యాబ్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నామా?
ఫిజిక్స్ కెమిస్ట్రీ గురించి మాట్లాడడానికి మనం ఇంటర్ సబ్జెక్ట్స్ డిస్కస్ చేయట్లేదు కదా. Catalysts ante what helped us grow in our careers in addition to the work we did.
Okay. Grow in our career అంటే are you talking about like getting feedback at work?
Bingo! Yes, feedback, one-on-ones, how we can get comfortable being uncomfortable in those conversations, and how not to get scared about these one-on-one conversations.
Ooh, I think the topic is very complex, but I like it. So why don't we jump right in? Tell us about your experience with feedback.
Nito, but the problem ఏంటో తెలుసా Saitya, if I give you something, you'll put me on spot. Anyway, feedback. Yep. So there was a phase in my career where I was leading about 20 development projects at once. And I've been associated with this team for quite some time. For me, I felt that everybody in my team knew what I was doing. But just then, as I mentioned in our previous episodes, we had one major reorg. I mentioned about multiple reorgs. So we were traversing through one of the reorg at that time, and we had a new MD whom we had to report to. And I was asked to present about my work. And for some reason, because I have been in this position for a while with my previous organization, అంటే arrogance అనను, but ఒక sense of, okay, I'm doing all of this, everybody knows what I'm doing, everybody speaks about me, so obviously somebody would have told her అని ఒక assumption తో I tried to present myself to her and was discussing about the projects I did. Even before I was getting the slides up to tell her and give her that context, she just stopped me. She stopped me and she said, right, I don't want this level of information. I want more granular information. And that's when I felt that, why is she doing this to me? And immediate my reaction was like, okay, I was resenting the kind of pushback she was giving me. This happened again and again and again and again. But then slowly I realized that every time she pushed me back, like for example, I told you, right, when I was trying to give her the list of the projects I was working on, she wanted me to give more details about my resources, tech stack, because ultimately she had some other agenda with the information I had to bring back to the group. But every time she pushed me back, initial na resentment edaithe undo, over time I started seeing the benefits in it. So as time progressed, the number of times she stopped or number of times she asked me to go back and check what I was presenting also reduced. So that's how I felt the feedback she was giving me helped me be more prepared and also made me think that what we present should cater to our audience more than what we think, how much we know about it.
Yeah, that's a great call out. Like changing the information you're delivering based on the audience you're sharing it with, like up leveling it or down leveling it as needed.
Yeah, see, that's the course correcting that she has been doing, helped me notice the gaps. And honestly, that experience changed a lot for me. I learned that being a good leader isn't about just driving outcomes, it's about slowing down enough to see the full picture and see what our viewers or whom we are presenting are consumers of information, what level they want information to be presented. That's me. Now, I want to know, how do you experience feedback?
Yeah. So I think main ఆలోచిస్తే when I think about feedback that helped me grow, there's this one incident that just stands out. So I once gave feedback to a teammate, and this person was quite junior to me. And I did everything by the book, the golden rules of feedback. I was very specific. I made it actionable. And I also gave the feedback pretty quickly after the incident, like within 24 hours. But even though I did all that, the person I gave the feedback to, they didn't take it well. they kind of flashed out, and I was left wondering as to what I did wrong. And later I spoke to a mentor about it, and they pointed out something that I completely missed. I never asked the person if they wanted to hear feedback in the first place. So that was a huge gap. The person I was giving feedback to, they were not in the right headspace to receive it. And that was for reasons that were totally outside my control. And, in trying to help, I made things worse.
Yeah, I remember this incident because you mentioned it to me at that time, and chala impact ayyavu. I remember that.
Yeah. It was pretty bad at that time. And, the good part was after a couple of months, the person came back and, they apologized and they shared that they were going through a lot personally at that time. And, we had a conversation about how I could have handled things differently too. So, నేను తీసుకున్న big lesson was that even if your intentions are good, feedback won't always land well. So now I always think first or ask first, hey, would you be open to some feedback? And sometimes that simple question makes all of the difference.
That's so true. And work kane kaadu kada, personal relations lo kuda I feel like, we jump to solution, we jump to feedback. But just asking whether you're ready, I think will really help land that feedback so well. Very good. I mean, I really like the example that you shared.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, that's feedback that helped me grow. But na gurinchi chalu, let's flip it. I want you to tell me about feedback that totally missed the mark for you, because I know, feedback isn't always positive.
Yeah. And that's a good way of thinking about feedbacks, right? That at first there will be feedbacks that work for you, and then there will be feedbacks that don't work for you. And this example that I'm going to share actually shows how sometimes you get feedback, you don't actually have to act on it. So we were in this meeting, again another reorg, which is much more recent, where we were having people from the newer organizations come and sit with us. And it so happened that me and another colleague of mine, who also happens to be a woman, she and I were talking, and I think we were leading the conversations because there was crickets, because there were new people, and we were trying to make the needle move by having the conversation. We were more aware of the processes and how we worked. So we were trying to get things going. And then there is this individual who pings both of us separately and says that, hey, I think you guys are not giving others chance to talk. But as I said, there were crickets. So when we joined the call, we did give time for people to, and we kept asking if anybody had any feedback or not. And when we are not getting that feedback, we took charge and we wanted to get something out of that meeting. So मैं మాట్లాడుతున్నాను. నేనైతే కంటిన్యూ చేశాను మాట్లాడడం, but the other colleague, she just started becoming quiet. And I didn't understand why till then she was helping me to make progress in the call. Suddenly it was becoming quieter. And later on, I spoke to her to understand like what happened at that point. You were contributing and suddenly you became quiet. And she's like, this person reached out to me. And that's when I told her, you don't have to act on feedback right away, because half of the time maybe that feedback isn't even directly to you or depicting something that is valuable to you. It's somebody else's perception of the situation. So that's how I feel like, not all feedback has to be acted on. You have to see what the intent is, what you are providing at that time, whether it is important to you or not, or whether it is resonating with you or not. So now you tell me of an instance where you had something similar.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned is a great point, actually. Like, listening to your instincts and, approaching feedback in that way. Now, ఇప్పుడు నేను ఆలోచిస్తే about feedback that didn't help me grow, like there's a lot of examples. But if I take a step back, I think the worst kind is actually no feedback at all. Those situations when a manager keeps saying, hey, you're doing great. And the conversation just turns into status updates, project check-ins, etc., etc. And on the surface, everything is fine, but in reality, that is the kind of feedback that doesn't help you grow. And it shows up later, like during year-end reviews, when you don't get the promotion or the raise that you were hoping. And that's when, you learn that something's been missing all along. So this happened to me a couple of times, and I realized, hey, I need to take charge of my own growth. So that is when I started actively seeking feedback from other people I work with. like in one-on-ones, wherever possible to close this gap. Yeah.
Cool. Nice. I love how you transitioned about feedback and then you said how you had to ask people. So now let's go to the natural progression, which is one-on-ones. And that's our next topic. Because honestly, those conversations are where we get so much real feedback. Why don't you tell me an example where what your experience with one-on-ones was?
Yeah. One-on-ones is a whole different topic altogether. And maybe I should start this way. Let me set some context about what a one-on-one is, right? So a one-on-one is a meeting that you have with someone you work closely with. So ఇప్పుడు నేను product manager కాబట్టి I usually have regular check-ins with different stakeholders across the org when I work with them. So I have check-ins with engineers and architects, and there I talk about like product development and product execution. And I'm also having one-on-ones with people from the sales team and the go-to-market teams. And that's where we are talking about customer feedback and what are customer complaints about. With the finance team, I'm discussing like ROI for a particular feature or how do we price a specific feature. And I'm also connecting with other product managers to align on end-to-end capabilities beyond my own product area. And there are partner teams like network team, onboarding team. So a lot of different teams that I sync up with to make sure everything like is fitting together. So if I take a step back and look at each of these one-on-one conversations, I'm always trying to pick up signals, right? About where I can do better, how my team can deliver better, how we can add the most value, right, as an organization. So that is my experience with one-on-ones, but I am very curious, Shweta, about your one-on-ones because yours, I'm guessing, might be quite different because you're a people manager. So how do you usually approach them?
Yeah. So the core of one-on-ones is what you said, right? It's basically connecting to the teams that you collaborate with. Your one-on-ones don't necessarily need to happen with your reporting managers directly because that is anyway a part of your PML counseling relationship. But these one-on-ones, I feel, should be with people you work outside your direct line of command, who you are still working day to day with, right? Like as you said, there would be product, there would be engineering, there would be architects. But the biggest thing about one-on-ones is how you take that ownership to set up those meetings. Because by setting those one-on-ones and listening to these people, you're trying to understand how you are bringing value to them and how you can add more value by understanding what their needs are. So until you get into a space where you're knowing each other's interaction points, I don't think you'll be able to reap that benefits of those one-on-ones. And not just that, right? Like by doing these one-on-ones, you're creating relationships that will help you venture into new things. Okay, next time something similar happens, you know whom to tap into. Not necessarily in the same project, but in a different project, you encounter a situation. But that old connection that you made through one-on-ones, now you are getting a gateway into another group entirely through that person. That's one of the advantages of one-on-one. Whenever my counselees come to me, I always encourage them to make those collaborations, that network, that internal networking ఎంత important మనకి తెలుసు. Networking just doesn't mean it's outside your organization, right? Within your organization also you have to network, collaborate, because రేపన్న రోజు when you sit into calibrations and year ends, 100% of the time, maybe you're a great performer, but if there's a parallel who's not as great as you, but many others in that room can speak about them, that person will at any given day get more visibility in that platform. So what advantage live? There's so many advantages, and I'm a huge proponent of one-on-ones. And it's not something that you should be scared of.
Yeah, I am realizing that one-on-ones, you don't need to be as scared of them. But when you mentioned about scared, something else pops up.
Oh, please, now please don't talk about performance reviews. Let's keep it for some other time.
No. I am not talking about performance reviews. I am talking about Halloween.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah, let's talk about something less serious, right? So I want to know, Shweta, ఇప్పుడు Halloween వస్తున్నది. And I know Halloween has changed for us since we came here. So why don't you start off tell me about your first experience with Halloween.
Ooh. Going back the memory lane. Halloween, first time when I got masters వచ్చినప్పుడు, the first ever Halloween I experienced, I didn't know what it was, right? I was like, what? People are getting dressed up and this and that. And what happened was, మొత్తం college anta, we went to this theme park. And usually my theme parks at morning to evening ఉంటాయి కదా, but this started pretty late at night. So we went there. So that experience itself, going to a theme park at night, was interesting. బట్ డామ్ స్కేరీ డూడ్ సడన్ గా ఒక శ్రబ్ ఒక మనిషి అయిపోయేది, లేకపోతే వెనక నుంచి వచ్చి ఒకరు పట్టుకునే. ఐ వాజ్ యెల్లింగ్. ఐ థింక్ 3-4 hours ఉన్నాను. I remember distinctly, like, plunging, poking my nails into the person whom I was next to because I was so scared and I was creeped out. It was just something new that I've never experienced, a very different tradition which was really new for me. Now you tell me, how did that transition to you?
Yeah, I think Halloween, ikkada vacheka kada, you first like hear about it, learn about it. So my first sort of like, oh my God, I was taken aback moment for Halloween was when I was a young working professional. And it was in October, and I was like driving my car, and I saw a car in front of me, and I saw like a hand like hanging out from the trunk. I was like, a bloody hand, just the hand, right? And I was like, oh my God, is there someone? Is there someone in there? And I was so scared. I was wondering why no one was doing anything, wondering whether I should be calling 911, wondering how can this be real? And soon I sort of like realized, oh, maybe this is for Halloween, right? That it's October. So yeah, I think I at least felt scared for like a good 15 minutes before realizing.
Now that we're speaking, right, I feel like just like how we are aging, Halloween was also aging with us, because like our first experience tarvata, I got married, and then Halloween became about partying, right? One of our best friends, he would DJ every Halloween, and every time he's hosting or he's going as a DJ for these Halloween parties, we also would get dressed up. ఇప్పుడు మేకప్స్ కూడా హారర్ గా ఉండేవి, సో వీ టు డూ ఈచ్ అదర్స్ మేకప్స్ అండ్ వీ వుడ్ డూ బార్ హాపింగ్. That's first scare నుంచి more fun అయ్యింది, right?
Yeah, totally. I think if I think about Halloween, నాకు like scare నుంచి fun అవడం, I think it sort of transitioned to becoming more fun once I became a mom. You know, getting your kid dressed in those cute pumpkin costumes, and then like the dino costumes and all of that is like a different ball game altogether. Taking them trick or treat, watching them get scared, making sure they don't eat too much candy. Yeah.
Oh, wait till the kid gets a little older. Inke no longer cute pumpkins and dinos, they want to do real scary stuff. And this year my son wants to be a Slender Man, which I've never heard of. And when I saw the costume, it was really scary. But anyway, I think that was nice talking about Halloween. Why don't we wrap up?
Actually, not quite. Shweta, I have a small challenge.
Oh, challenge now? What's that?
Okay, so the challenges for our listeners. So if they found this podcast relatable and if they think it will help someone navigate their career better, I want them to share it with at least one other person who might find it useful.
That's a good one. And while you're at it, don't forget to rate and review Version Upgrade on Spotify. It will really help us find others.
Okay, with that, I think we can say bye-bye. Adios.
Bye-bye. Until next week.
Yeah, take care. Bye.
Thank you.